Another Monday, another time to be thankful. I'm super excited because I'm sporting my 314 together, representing St. Louis in support of local businesses, our local fashion community. I hope wherever you live that you're doing the same thing, seeking out ways to support local. We've been entrepreneurs our whole life. I told Jeff the other day, one of the things I was feeling kind of heavy-hearted, and I said I realized what it was is just my heart for all the entrepreneurs out there. Hang on, that's what I can say. For us, we've been really trying to think outside the box, and some really good things have come out of thinking outside the box. But anyway, we're excited to support the STL community. Today I'm going to talk about something I heard a woman who I've kind of been plugging into her podcasts and Instagram lives, and she said at the very beginning of this, which I don't even know how many days we're into it, I'm sure you feel the same way. But she said something, and when I went back on my notes, and again, I can't stress enough the power of writing things down. Mark Batterson is somebody who I've read a lot of his books, and he has a series called Draw the Circle and The Circle Maker, and they've been really profound in my life. And I have a journal that I've kept for a couple of years, but I literally started a new journal at the beginning of this quarantine, and it was a journal that I had bought one of the last times we were in Nashville. I actually think I talked about it at one point on my social media because it said Rise and Shine, and it's this beautiful yellow journal, and it sat on my desk forever just empty because I was like, I don't know what I want to do with this. My dad would always say Rise and Shine, and so it was meaningful to me. It's like having that little reminder of your childhood and your father, and I decided this is the perfect time to just journal in that one journal. And I know it'll probably end up being one of my most cherished possessions because it will be coming from a time of crisis. And this morning I went back and read some of the initial things, and she said, and it's one of the first things I wrote at the beginning in this journal, some things you can only learn in crisis. And that really hit me and resonated with me. Now I have to say, every time I get even a hint of wanting to complain about having to stay home, in the next second, all I can think about is all of those people that are essential workers that are out there in every capacity, and how much we all appreciate what they are doing. And so you don't want to complain about your circumstance. But it is a crisis in so many ways, in so many levels, for all of us in one degree or another, and you just don't want to lose sight of it. But at the same time, you have to find the silver lining. You have to, I believe, you get what you look for. You have to search for those things, and they can become some of the most meaningful lessons ever. I do believe that some things can only be learned in crisis, and I've tried to think of things that I've learned in crisis. Number one, I remember learning from our fabulous mentor, counselor, therapist, who also married Jeff and I, Bruce Dallum. I remember sitting across from him at the desk where I went for an entire year in 1997 at the crisis time of my life where I was losing everything that I had known up to that point. And I'll never forget him saying to me, "Congratulations, Mary, you've come to the end of yourself." And what that meant was, we all, to one degree or another, think that we're somehow in control of our lives and what happens, but at the end of the day, none of us really are. And when you have an understanding of that and surrendering and taking one day at a time and being thankful for that and not trying to control things, it's pretty empowering. The other thing that I learned in crisis was, as our business wasn't doing well, and Jeff and I were at this point of trying to feed a family of 4 and hang on to the dreams that we had so many years ago, I'll never forget stumbling upon in some of my reading a whole kind of document, and I'm trying to find it. Somewhere I have it in one of my mini books. The blessing of inadequacy, the blessing of knowing I can't do it by myself. I don't have enough. And then trusting that God will open doors, connect you with people, bring people in your life that make a difference, and that's never failed me. And so I believe in the blessing of inadequacy, but I could only learn that in crisis. Third, I've learned, and sometimes I think that that's been the beautiful thing of mother, is learning to use what's in your hands. Use what you already have. Don't think about what you don't have. Think about what you do have and what you can do with what you have. I think back to many years ago when we were still living in Iowa, and we started our own kind of event where we could present models, and agents would literally fly in from all around the world, but we didn't have the money to do catering. We didn't have the money to hire security, et cetera, and the families rallied around, and we dubbed this really fantastic group of parents. It was mostly moms, a couple of dads, so we called them the Mom Squad. And the Mom Squad became responsible for catering and feeding the agents, and it ended up being one of the most cherished parts of what we had. And we were relying on the goodness of everyone rallying together. And this last tribute we did right in this beautiful space here, when it was all said and done on Sunday morning. Our parents came in with, I can't even tell you how much amazing food. This place was filled with models and parents, and it was incredible. And we were using what we had in our hands. And lastly, to learn that no matter what, you start each day with gratitude. It sounds simplistic. I've been hearing that a lot, and literally right before we started to set up, Jeff was setting up the podcast, and he was telling me how he was listening to this motivational thing that he listens to every morning, and that they were talking about how important it is before you get out of bed to be thankful, to look at what you should be in gratitude for, and I couldn't agree more. This has forced us to slow down, and if there was anything that we needed to do as a society is slow down. It also allows for some time for some soul searching. Now I know for the people that are working remotely from home and have their kids and they're needing to homeschool, I know that time is not necessarily, it's a little bit different for Jeff and I, the two of us, and Mercy. You get a lot of quiet time, but irregardless, in this time, I hope that you're carving out time to do some soul searching. I saw a great interview with Alicia Keys. She just wrote a book, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. And I love, it seems like to be a very introspective book. And she talked about how she was skyrocketed to fame to many degrees. I'll never forget seeing her the first time on Oprah. I'll never forget going, who is this girl with her braids? And you're just like, this is somebody special. But she talked about how she kind of got on this roller coaster of her career. And I love what she said. She said that I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think that happens a lot. That we can get in this thing. Bruce used to talk about how it's so easy to wake up in the morning, and before your feet hit the floor, he said your thoughts even can jump on a roller coaster, and pretty soon you're going all over the place and you haven't even begun your day. And when there's a career, a high pressure career, really for any of us, we all have the work that we do, we have our lives, there's a lot to it. it's not that easy to slow down and really discover what you don't know. And I love and believe in the importance of personal development and always learning. That's why I'm such an avid reader, because I just want to know that I'm always, always, always learning. And if you don't like to read, the cool thing is there's podcasts, there's masterclass, there's so many ways to constantly be learning and opening your mind, which is really important now more than ever. She also talked about two things. She said she realized that, number one, her focus for so many years was pleasing everyone around her, making decisions based on what she thought she was supposed to be making decisions on. And number two, that she worked herself to exhaustion because work was the most important thing, which is another reason coming back to slowing down can be very good. And it can be an opportunity to hit a reset button that can then change the trajectory of where you're going. Even if it's just a little bit of a shift, in the long run, if it makes you healthier and more in tune to who you're called to be, then that's really valuable. And she said also that she was swallowing her truth. She was trying to keep everyone so happy and to stay on this trajectory that she wasn't allowing herself to own her truth of what wasn't working in her life. And I think that we can all fall into that very, very easily. Another person, and then she said coming out of it, which is what I believe it for this time, that we can all do, you have to take care of yourself and come back stronger on the other side. Really simple. Take care of yourself and come back stronger on the other side. Paula Ferris is somebody who I love. She's on Good Morning America. She was on The View, and she has a new book that just came out. Did the interview this morning about how she had these two dream jobs, and yet she was feeling unfulfilled. She was feeling like she wasn't living in her best, and made the very difficult decision to walk away from it all. But it was cool because she talked about how she didn't know who she was outside of what she did. So very much attached to the career or identity of being this very successful journalist on two very successful shows, and yet feeling that there was more, and stepping away and taking that time to find out how she could evolve, which led her to writing a book. And I was like, I just think it's going to be amazing, all the great things that can come out of it. She'd written this book months and months ago. She had a health crisis. She had gone through a lot of challenging things, and she said that God can use a crisis to wake us up from time to time. That's what made her wake up to start to go, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And so the irony of then the book coming out during a crisis and her saying, use it to have a giant reset button, to literally allow yourself the time to assess what you want your life to look like coming out on the other side of this. That is the best for you, which in turn will be the best for your relationships, your work, your family. It all goes hand in hand. I know I've learned that through the years. It literally goes hand in hand. So take time this week, do some evaluating. Again, I can't reiterate enough how important I think it is just to journal and start writing things down, because it can lead you to a place that's very empowering. And having seen through the people that I'm following, these new people that are coming out with these great books, successful women going, this is what I learned and this is what I want to share. They're all saying the same thing. Use the time to reevaluate and make your life even better. I hope that this week is wonderful. Keep praying and believing for miracles. That's what I'm doing. And I will talk to you next Monday.